Very good evening to all the participants. My name is Dr. Vignesh. I'm part of the National Digital Library of India team. We are one of the co-organizers and technical support partners for this 25th PN Panikar National Reading and Digital Reading Month celebrations. And along with Niti Aayog, Ministry of Education and CBSE. As many of you know, we have been organizing a series of webinars during this year's Reading Month celebration. And today is the 11th session. And today's session is on new age digital learning techniques. And we have a very young, dynamic, and very what you call knowledgeable resource person with us. And I'm happy to have one of my colleagues. He is also good product of IIT Kharagpur. And we have Mr. Rajiv Agarwal, who is also the key member in the NDLI club, especially the school vertical. He looks after the school vertical of NDLI club, and he has also he is also the co-founder of EduTime, a sustainable educational company, which has impacted over 15,000 students, and he has been providing free education to over 4,000 underprivileged children over a period of 12 years. And he completed his BTech from the IIT Kharagpur in the year 2008. And he also did a seed transformation program from Stanford University in 2019. And without much ado, I heartily welcome my colleague Rajiv for this session. And I also request Balagopalji to formally welcome Rajiv and also welcome our participants for today's session. Over to you, Balagopal sir.
Dr. Vignesh, thank you, Dr. Vignesh. Mr. Rajiv Agarwal, the young and dynamic new age technique. In fact, he is the preacher, practitioner of new age technique digital education. And he is responsible for building a strong India-like clubs throughout the country. Congratulations, Mr. Rajiv Agarwal, for your dynamism in your work. Keep it up. And Dr. Vignesh, as usual, he is the main architect of these programs. And all the participants who are assembled for this program, I'm happy to invite all of you to this August webinar. And tomorrow also, even on Sundays also, we are organizing a webinar on 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. I think Dr. Vignesh will give you the feedback, etc. I'm welcoming all of you officially to this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Vignesh.
Over to Rajiv. Rajiv, you can take forward the session.
Thank you, Dr. Vignesh and Sri Balagopal. Thank you for your kind words and words of encouragement. So I am really privileged to be able to get this opportunity to address so many school educators from all over the country, and it is always wonderful to share experiences. And today's topic being new age digital techniques. I will try to not just focus on the new age techniques, but also try to connect them with what has been traditional, because traditionally whatever we have done, that is also something very, very helpful and very, very commendable. So we will try to do a balancing act, and I would like this session to be very, very interactive. So I will keep asking you all a lot of questions. There are a list of things that I would like to share with you towards the end of the presentation, a list of important learning resources, teaching resources, which I have myself used. So you could make a note of that. And please do use the chat on the Zoom so that I can understand what you all are thinking, what answers you are giving according to that. All right. So are we all ready to start the session? All the participants, can you write it on the chat with a yes? Are you all excited and ready? All right. So now what I'll do is I see a lot of, okay, this is what is exactly needed. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Raj.
Okay, great. So, let's start off with the session with the exactly what we are going to focus for the next 1 hour. I'm going to essentially start with the why. Why, we are talking about the topic that we have chosen for today. So I'm going to set the context for all of you. After that, I'm going to focus on how, or the framework. I will try to give you all a framework of how these new age digital technologies work, or what is the logic or the psychology of using it. Okay, so I'm going to give you all, or try to explain to you, a framework, and then finally I'm going to give you all some examples of some good practices that I have seen across, not just in India but across the world, and they are simple enough. Hopefully, a lot of you at the end of the webinar will be able to go away with a lot of things that you can apply and use in your day-to-day teaching or learning, like that. All right. So and at the end of it, throughout the whole session also, we will be having a lot of questions. So if you have any questions, you can ask on the chat. I will try to answer them. Or at the end of the session, we will have a Q&A session, question and answer session. Okay. So what is happening over the last many years now is that there have been changes happening very, very fast, right? All of you agree with me when I say that the world is changing at a very, very, very rapid pace, and new technologies are coming, and they are changing everything. So whatever was relevant a few years back, that has become obsolete today, and new technologies are taking their place. And this primary change agent is technology, right? And of course, when you see waves nowadays, what else comes to our mind? When you see these waves, so the other thing that comes to our mind is this new wave of, second wave, first wave of this COVID pandemic that we are going through. So either you get crushed by these waves, or you can ride on these waves. And that has been basically the struggle for across all the sectors, including that of teaching and learning, right? Do you all agree with me on this, that this is what is happening, to a lot of change, a lot of uncertainty? So who are there in this picture? Can you identify who are these people in this picture? Yes, very good, Vinod. Yes, Harry and Ron, absolutely. So and what happens with what happens in this case is that they are both trying to predict what will happen, and in such an unprecedented and uncertain future, it is very difficult to predict what will happen. Correct? Is it easy to predict what will happen and be certain about the future? And this is very much applicable for learning, education. Suddenly, yes, we have to adapt, as Maya is saying, we have to adapt and make use of the situation, right? So what I'm trying to say is that whatever is the flavor of the season today, we don't know whether that will be the flavor of the season next year, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. And I believe that most of you who are coming from schools, either as librarians or principals or teachers or students and parents, you will be the students who you are guiding. They will be going into the workforce or into their professional careers at least 5 years from now. Correct? So it is very difficult to predict in such a scenario what is hot today will remain hot 5 years from now, or what is the trend today will remain the trend 5 years from now, right? So amidst all this uncertainty, I'm also showing you a infographic here, which shows that in the year 2000, the average attention span of a human was 20 seconds. And now, after 2 decades, it has gone down to 8 seconds. You know what is attention span? The ability to focus on one thing for a certain period of time. Whereas a fish like a goldfish has got greater attention span than humans today. and there may be various reasons for this decrease in attention span, but do you think this has got a big impact for the learners of today, for the students of today? Given the kind of the plethora of distractions that we have for students, in the form of mobile devices, in the form of social media, in the form of so many distractions that are there, attention span of students, and overall for everyone, not just for young learners, but for everyone, attention span has gone down. Correct? And in the last more than 1 year now of this pandemic situation, where schools have not been able to operate the way they would normally operate, I'm asking, which one are you? Because now everyone is like, we are doing meetings online like this in webinars, where earlier, all these meetings used to be where people used to travel to that place. They used to meet people. So similarly, students used to go to schools and get lectures from their teachers, interact with everyone in the school. So there are different students, and this picture also could include teachers and librarians and everyone who are themselves also imparting education. Is that some of them have got eyes which are dark, because you're not getting enough, you are getting not in getting enough sleep. Some students are not, so this is what is happening normally. And there is obviously some fatigue also coming in, where students are getting tired. In fact, everybody is now kind of getting a little fatigued by the screen time, right? That's a big problem also that has come into the picture. So what is happening is that one of the major focus areas, when I'm trying to set the context for our talk today, one of the major focus areas for new age, this new age that we are living in, the teaching learning paradigm that we talk about, one of the main focus areas is focused on how do you increase engagement. How do you increase engagement? How do you increase participation? And this is true for across all sectors, again, not just education, but also in, people working in companies. How do you increase their engagement with the company? Similarly, students who are learning, how do you increase their learning engagement in the classroom or beyond that? Now, this being the context, I want to now, so we all understand that things have changed. We live in a world which is changing very fast. We live in a world that is uncertain, and in amidst all this change, this pandemic, school education primarily has had to undergo a very big change. And in that change, the most affected are the students and teachers. And engagement, how do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them focused on the process of learning and teaching? That is one of the key focus areas for all digital technologies that is now being built. Why? Because there is a lot of content available everywhere, but how do you get people to read the content? How do you get everyone to learn from it? That is one of the key areas of focus, and that is what I will try to discuss with you today. So I've got three very simple stories to share with you. These are from my own life, and I will try to understand some of the best practices that we have gone through. I mean, those who are teachers, because I also teach. So we have all been students. We are still students, but we have all been in school and college sometime before this. So I want to share three stories from my school and college life. Okay, and from there we will try to deduce some factors. All right. So the first story goes like this. When I was in class 12, I've written the story's name as chemistry. Okay. So when I was in class 12, I had a chemistry teacher called Professor S.K. Palit. Okay. And Professor S.K. Palit was the ex-head of the Department of Chemistry at IIT Kharagpur. So when I was studying from him, this is the year 2003, 2004, when I was in 11 and 12. So he had retired by then. So I used to go to his house to study chemistry every Sunday at 10 a.m. And he had a big library. And he would come, give me 4 books and tell me, Rajiv, study these chapters from these books. Okay. And after 1 hour, he would come with a cup of tea in his hand. And then he would simply tell me, now ask me questions. Okay. So this was one of the first my experiences with chemistry in 11 and 12 was like this, that I had a teacher who would just give me some books, and these were not normal books. Some of these were class 11, 12 books. Some of these were higher standard books from college level. And all we used to do was we used to then have a discussion. Okay, that, what is, I would ask questions, he would ask me more questions on top of that, and this would be sort of a dialogue between a student and a teacher. Okay, so this is the first story. All of you understood the simple story of chemistry, because chemistry and tea, because he used to always come with a cup of tea in his hand after 1 hour of me having spent in his library. Okay, now the second story is called English Winglish. So this is obviously related to my English teacher. So I had an amazing English teacher in class 8, 9, and 10. She used to live at very close to our house, and 5 or 6 of us used to go at 5:30 a.m. to her house in the morning. Okay, and what she would do is she would just give us some words the previous day, and we had a huge copy of words. So where she would give us the word and give us the meaning of that word. For example, soliloquy is talking to oneself, or somnambulist is a person who walks in sleep, and she would explain to us the words also. Okay, and the next day we would basically have a quiz between all the students. So there would be like a competition. So sometimes my teacher would give us a word and we would have to tell us the meaning of the word, or it would be the other way around, where she would give us the meaning of the word and we have to tell which word it is. Okay. On top of this, our teacher also used to give us assignments to write book or movie reviews. So I remember distinctly that at that time, this is the year 2001, 2, like that, when there were some movies which had come out called of Hrithik Roshan's called Fiza, and I had written a movie review of that, and it was published in a local newspaper as well. So and she would also make us read out these book reviews and movie reviews that we used to write. This was her way of teaching us English, and yeah, I mean, it is, these are 2 subjects that I fell in love with because of these 2 teachers, my chemistry teacher and my English teacher. And the last story from chemistry and English, let's come to Bollywood. Now, so those were school days. Now I've called this story as Bollywood because this third story essentially is about when I was in my 3rd year at IIT Kharagpur. So we had this professor called Professor S.K. Barai, who is right now heading BITS Pilani. So in this course called Soft Computing Tools, he used in a semester you have 4 months. Okay, at IIT you have 4 months in a semester, and so in the first couple of months, he taught us the entire theory, explained to us the whole knowledge about the topic. And then what he did was he divided the entire class. So there were around 80 students in the class. He divided the entire class into 20 teams of four students each. And he told us that you all have to now work on a project, and that project has to be an application of whatever I have taught you, and that application has to be one that is that you can do in real life. The top three teams at the end of the semester will be given a chance to publish their paper in a conference. Okay, and what my team we had done was we had made a kind of a tool which would predict the success of Bollywood movies, okay, which would predict the success of movies at Bollywood, okay, based on data. And it was a course on neural networks and genetic algorithm. So this is what we had done. So now this is, so I've told you 3 stories of 3 of my teachers. And now my question to you all is, what are the common things that you find in these 3 stories? What are the common teaching, learning methodologies? What is common, or what do you think, what have you found which has, okay, Divya is writing experimental learning, okay. Purnima is interaction. Gautam Kumar is writing all giving work, okay. Out of the box, connect to the students, involving students the most, real life scenarios, questions, experiential learning, application based learning, life experiences, learn, ask questions, make learning fun, research work, critical thinking, practical thinking, children centric, usage of tools. Excellent, excellent. Teacher engagement, question, your choice. I think having such an audience is always a pleasure, because you all, we all belong to a community where we are constantly trying to figure out how can we make things better, right? And I thought, yeah, I mean, child is left to think, make learning interesting, skills, student involvement, and connections, right? Right, absolutely. And I shared these 3 stories with you just so that I know that you all are experts in your field, and I am just trying to give you 3 examples from my life, because these 3 teachers, apart from a lot of other teachers, I obviously don't have the time to share a lot of stories of how I was influenced by so many brilliant teachers in my life, but I've just shared with you 3 stories. And uh, as a lot of you are mentioning, based on your observations, so you are writing storytelling method, reading, right? And absolutely, so what I think a lot of you mentioned critical thinking, a lot of you mentioned curiosity, creativity, competence based, okay, encourage free thinking. And these are some of the things that I felt. I truly felt that I was allowed to be creative. When a person gives you a project and asks you to apply whatever knowledge you have, the teacher is giving you the freedom to be creative. When you have teachers who are asking you to communicate, so reading, writing, everything is communication, right? So when you are giving presentations at the end of a course, it is you communicating your thoughts. Of course you have critical thinking when you are asking us to, when the teachers are allowing you to apply the knowledge and ask more questions deeply. And when you have projects, you work together, so you are also encouraging collaboration, because collaboration is one of the key requirements of success. It has always been, and it has become even more important in today's world. So as a lot of you mentioned, so these are the 5 things that I thought were there. Of course, and absolutely, as Anita is mentioning, one of the top 3 components of 21st century skills. So thank you there, because yeah, I mean, because it is, everything has to be done by design. A teacher who cares will ensure that things are given in a design, that the student is empowered, the student is at the center. As a lot of you mentioned, it was student driven. So the teacher is giving you knowledge, but at the end of the day also empowering you to figure out your own path. And were there any competitions? Yes, there was a competition. Was there any reward? Yes. For example, my English teacher would give us dictionaries if we would perform very well, right? So yes, as you're saying, you have to plan out. And 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 as Anita has mentioned, this is what is the requirement in a world that is constantly changing. We essentially need we essentially need students as well as teachers who understand what are the requirements of this new world, because teaching has and learning has now become lifelong. You have to constantly update yourself, you have to constantly get new knowledge and new information, and you have to ensure that you are helping a student or a child develop the competencies of critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration. And it requires a lot of planning, it requires a lot of design, it requires a lot of thought from the on the part of the teacher, right? And of course this is this requires, this also builds character, curiosity, because that is the most important thing, right? You want students to ask questions, you want students to feel comfortable in an environment where they're asking questions. So these techniques that I have just talked about, these were my teachers. So this is late 90s and early 2000s, right? So these techniques, they will never fade out. No matter what technology we use, no matter what we do, these techniques of enabling and empowering the student to become better, to figure out, to learn by mistakes, to learn by doing, that will never fade away. What can come is how we do this, how we enable students to do all of this. That methodology can change a bit, but these are age old methods of top class teaching and learning. Do you all agree with me on this, about whatever we have discussed so far, about the three stories that I talked about, what deductions we made from there, and how we should approach? So the mindset, the first part of what I'm trying to talk about is the mindset. We need to understand what is it that we need to do, then we can go into how and what, right? So this is the why. And there are various theories, so I'm not going to go into the various theories of how things are to be done, uh, retention rates. So when we talk about one of the biggest problems, we talked about engagement and retention. When a student is taking in information, so what is happening? Are they only reading? Are they only using audio visual techniques? And the most important technique is basically teaching others, which is what we all also do. We should also encourage, like Dr. Feynman, Richard Feynman used to explain. He used to say that always, if you want to understand something deeply, try and explain it to somebody else. And these are some of the methods. Now we have understood why we are here. We have understood why, because we need to find out how and what we can now do to do this why, which is create exceptional teaching learning ecosystems, right? Where students are happy and excited and encouraged, where teachers are happy and learning and are feeling more and more excited to teach. So this is why we are talking here today. Now comes the challenge. The challenge is basically whatever we have in the short period of 15 to 20 minutes, whatever we have just talked about. How do you encapsulate some of these values? How do you encapsulate some of these points of incorporating critical thinking, curiosity, and building students skills for the 21st century? And at the same time, you have to ensure that it is a system that motivates and it creates happy learners, because at the end of the day, we are all teachers, we are also learning, and we have got students who are also learning. So one of the core ingredients of the system is that people should be happy. They should be happy in learning what they are doing. And I have mentioned a word here, which is habit. So how can you create something which creates a habit, which becomes so fluidic, which becomes so easy for everyone to follow? How can you create a system like that? How can you create a system which delivers the best learning and education delivery, which is engaging? Yes. So obviously, what you are saying is that there are so many techniques today. If I tell you all, how would you like to teach? Some of you would say, I would like to do an experiment in the class. Some of you would say, I would like to talk about it in the form of a story. Some of you would say, I would like to give a project to the student. Some of you would say that I would like it to be like a flipped classroom. I would give the students something to think about. Then they would come back and yes, student centric, right? So how do you create something which can be focused and which can be taken by everyone, and which caters to everyone's taste also? Joyful, playful, everything like this, right? So let us try to define what is habit. Because why I'm saying this is because now I am going into the second part of my talk, which is how do you find out the logic, or what is the logic behind this new age digital learning technologies? How are they creating what they are creating? Okay. And absolutely everything included, Sudha, reinforcement, joyful, playful, everything, right? So now one of the small things is that a habit which I have defined here is a behavior done with little or no conscious thought. And one of the things is that with habits is that every day we do around 40% of the things out of sheer habit. Okay. And what I'm trying to now talk about, this part is pretty focused on creating a framework. So a framework is something that can build habits, that can build good habits. Okay. So not just for students, but also for teachers. How many of you have played any of these games, or do you play games on the mobile or computer? I think I should have asked the question, how many of you don't play? And then there would be hardly anyone, because I think everybody, I think most of the people here, attendees here, are teachers. Okay, some of you are saying you don't play, okay, which is fine. I will come to that. I will come to that. Games are not the only thing by which we are interacting with technology. Of course, most of you do play, but some of you are not interested. So I will come to that. Now, one of the things about playing these games is that somehow once you start playing these games, you really you like playing them all the time, or you just get into this, right? Some of you are saying Candy Crush, and these are just some games. And if you ask students today, yes, I'm coming to that, Lisha. Addictions, I'm coming to that part here. Students today are not just playing these games; they are playing even bigger games like Age of Empires, and yes, they are playing very strategy games. PUBG, yes. They are playing all these games where it is not just one player is playing a game, right? But it is multiple people are playing it together. Yes, now I know, I mean, all of you are mentioning a list of games here. And apart from games, we all use mobile phones. We all use WhatsApp or email service, Gmail or Outlook or something like that. Most of us, I think I would hardly have anyone here in the audience who would not be using social media platforms, either Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or some of them. And a lot of us are also using the over the top media platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime and all those things, right? So what I'm trying to say is that we all are surrounded by technology, and in various forms. Sometimes we play games, sometimes we use them, and in some way or the other, the people who have developed these games and these technologies, they know how to make it a part of our lives. Yes, as Sandhya Shri is mentioning, the whole school is running on WhatsApp. So yeah, I mean, it's a communication tool, and it's a very convenient communication tool, right? So I want you all to give me one word. I want you all to give me one word for this these technologies and everything. Yes. So BK Manjunatha is saying integral part of our lives. Okay. A lot of you are using the word integral. Absolutely. It's like you can't separate necessity, inseparable, unavoidable, essential, inevitable. It should be as a servant, prominent. Mhm. And this is what exactly I am absolutely agreeing with all of you on this. And I also feel it, right? A mobile phone today has become a part of our lives. These have become part of our lives for various reasons. Sometimes we use it for communication, sometimes we use it for learning, sometimes we use it for entertainment. And so we essentially would not be able to live without a lot of these technologies and tools that have now pervaded our daily lives in a big way. You all agree with this, right? So now my focus is basically we want to understand how people who have developed these technologies and tools, how have they made these technologies and tools so addictive and so inseparable and indispensable, as Aparna is mentioning. How have they done this? What have there is a definite science to it. There is a definite methodology to it. And today, over the next 5 to 10 minutes, I want you all to understand the science behind making these technologies and tools such an important part of our lives. Something that now we find them to be an integral part of our lives, as most of you agreed on. I would like to use this word called hook. These technologies and tools we have become hooked onto them. Okay, I'm writing this word here. We have become hooked onto them. They have actually hooked onto us, and in a way that we have to keep going back to them. It's like, as you all mentioned, indispensable, inevitable, integral, like that, right? So we now the question is when we are talking about new age digital learning, the thing that I'm trying to focus for all of you now is how can we create and design better, engaging education and learning products or systems which would lead to better outcomes and habits. Can we learn anything from what these technologies and games, the way they are designed, the way these technologies have been made? Can we learn something from them? Okay, is the context clear now? So my context is, how can we learn to create better technologies in education by understanding how these people, how these companies, these big companies, how have they engaged us, and can we take a leaf out of their book, and can we also do something out of that, right? Yes. So let's now get into the depth of this. And yes, absolutely. So I know, as Umarani, you're mentioning, young minds should know all the aspects. And I think today's youth, if you explain to them the logic behind everything, instead of just telling them that this is how it is, today's youth really understands the logic. If you explain to them with reason, they are willing to look at all the dimensions, because they have a lot of exposure today. And if you can explain the things to them, then they are willing to listen to us. So that is something. So now, as you can see, I have divided the hook into 4 parts. The hook part has got something called a trigger. Then there is something called followed by an action. Then there is a reward, and there is an investment. So I want you all to make a note of this also. So let us try to figure out what exactly is happening. Now, all of you are there on Facebook and Instagram, at least one of them, right? So now what happens is, I want you all to look at this diagram very carefully. and understand this model today, so that you can design some good, you can take some of the pointers from here and design them for your own students and learners in your schools and in institutions. Okay. Of course, as Kiran, you are saying, they are stress busters. They are designed in such a way that they would lead to, you know, stress busting the stress. Okay. The games and all, they are designed in such a way that they are. So what happens? The first part is called a trigger. So suppose what happens is, suppose you are using Facebook or Instagram. What happens is, there is something called an external trigger. There is an app notification which comes in that somebody has posted this message or that message. That is what is called an external trigger. Trigger means something that gives you a cue to take action. Okay. What is an internal trigger? An internal trigger is something that when you go and post something on Facebook or Instagram or any of these Twitters or LinkedIns of the world, you get people who you are waiting for people to give you some sort of a gratification. You get a good sense of, you know, happiness because somebody has liked your post, or somebody has shared what you have written, or somebody has commented something on what you have written. It gives you feedback, absolutely. And it gives us a dopamine, if you know, rush. Gives us that happy hormone because of that. And therefore, this is the first part of any design of what these companies and games are also designed, so that you know, there is a trigger. After that, what happens is the action. Action is the simplest behavior that you can do. So what happens is, you have a phone, and you simply, you know, unlock your phone, you click on the app, and you simply get access to the app. Now what happens is, the action is so simple. Suppose when you're opening your Facebook, Instagram, or something like that, you are constantly scrolling. You don't like the first post, you don't like the second post, you like the fourth post. And how easy it is to get access to all this information. You can simply just scroll it with your thumb, right? It is so simple. The action is so simple. And you would agree, when you are watching something on Netflix or any of these platforms, the moment one episode gets over, the next episode gets lined up. So it is like you don't have to do anything. They are doing everything for you. Everything is so easy and simple. Yes, as Mahima is writing, scrolling is the new smoking, right? And what happens is, in all these systems, you have something called a reward. Now, reward are of a certain types. One is called reward of the tribe. Tribe means everybody, you know, is giving you likes, you are getting feedback. That is called the reward of the tribe. You are getting recognition. And then there is something called reward of the self. So suppose you are playing a game, you are improving the levels, you are going from one level to the other. So you are constantly improving, you are getting motivated because of that. That is what the reward is. And the last part of this loop is called the investment. Now what happens is, let me share this with you. For most of the assets that we have in our lives, their value depreciates over time. That means, if you have a car or you have furniture or something like that, its value will depreciate over time. But with most of these games and social media platforms and everything, because they are taking your feedback and data, you are posting something personal, you are posting a picture, you are writing comments for somebody, right? So what happens is, you are putting in more and more of yourself. You are investing your time and energy and your thoughts, everything into that platform. The more people do this, the more they share their data and all these things on these platforms, the more they get hooked onto these platforms, because you have made an investment. Do you all understand? Do you now understand the hooked philosophy of why we are so engaged with these platforms, these games? Why are we so engaged to the point that most of us say that it is so addictive? And why we are discussing this is because, yes, investment is like a binding, right? The more you invest, so the better it is. So now, we are discussing this in the context of what can we learn from here to create as a new age in terms of creating some good education systems and technologies, right? So let us see how this is important and how we can use some of these techniques into our creation of education delivery. So in case of the trigger for our students, what can be their internal motivation? Their internal motivation can be learning, getting more marks and knowledge. This would be their, yeah, up to getting, up to date, like that. So this is the internal motivation for all the learners. Even for teachers, you want to increase your knowledge, you want to impart knowledge. This is your internal motivation. What is the external trigger? External trigger is there is a routine that a school has, that you have to, your classes are going to happen on this time and this and the other time, the alarm, or the school has got a messaging service on WhatsApp, so it sends that class starts at this time. In the school it would be the morning bell, and most often in my case it used to be my mother, right, who used to tell me that it's time to go and study. So these are some of the triggers that are essential for in the learning system. Now what is the action? Nowadays the action is not for the student right now to go to the school in a school bus or some transport and get access to the school. Nowadays it is very simple, whether you are using Zoom or Microsoft Teams or any of such of the platforms. The student simply has to log in on the app or the computer to get access to the classes or whatever teaching is happening. Now these two are pretty simple to understand. The trigger and the action parts are pretty simple to understand. Where we can all innovate are the variable reward part and the investment part. So when you talk about conducting classes and teaching and all the new techniques, I have listed down 4 points here. Of course, this is not a complete list. There can be many things. So one of the things is you have something called a progress bar, where what happens is, obviously, we take quizzes, we take assignments from the students, but we must have something. I am sure a lot of you already do that. If we have something called a progress bar, that this is how you must keep a track of your performance, then that is a sort of a reward for the student, that you have completed so much. Then based on that progress, you can give them some badges, some recognition, right, some certificates, and that is something that really works wonders, because we do crave for these kind of things. You can have something called reward of the tribe. You can have something called a leaderboard, where for every class, the student who participated the most, the student who gave the best answers, or the student who simply spoke out and asked a question, so you can have a leaderboard for that. These are some of the very small things in terms of rewards that you can keep creating for your students for various types of behavior, positive behavior. Okay. And that is what can also lead to this kind of positive recognition, can also lead to a lot of good reinforcement. And the last part, which is the investment part. Now you have done your classes, but a lot of learning happens after your class, right? A lot of learning happens after your class. A lot of learning, actually the majority of the learning that the student will do is through reflection beyond the classroom hours. So how do you engage the student beyond the classroom hours? That is where we talk about the concept of investment. So here you can use a discussion forum. You can use feedback forms from the student. You can give the project. You can give students projects to work on. I shared my stories, right? So you remember the project. I think that was a brilliant way to teach, because once you have taught something to the students, if they do a project on that, if they create something out of it, if they apply that knowledge in anything, and this can be done for all subjects, it is not just applicable for a few subjects. This can be done for humanities, languages, science, arts, mathematics, everything. Okay. And nowadays students are also very interested in sharing what they are creating. So and there are so many platforms which enable you to do that. So as a teacher, you also would feel great if your students are creating something very good and sharing it, right? So you can ask the students to take pictures of whatever they have created, or whatever document they have created, and share it. And you can showcase it for everyone to see. And yes, absolutely. So as Maya is mentioning about Padlet, there are I am going to, after this, I'm going to share some of the tools that I have used. And I have also heard of Padlet. So yeah, a lot of schools, a lot of you teachers, librarians and students, you are using a lot of tools, I know. So did you all understand the logic of how we can create a framework which, in a loop, now if you continuously take a student through these loops, then what happens is you build positive habits, you are creating good learning outcomes. And this is where technologies can really help us. But before that, you need to put the student at the center. The teacher is basically designing, thinking, and doing all of this. Okay, I am now coming to, so this was the how part. So we have covered the why part, we have covered the how part. Now I am going to talk about some whats. When I'm talking about some what, I'm going to give you some examples. Okay, and the examples that I'm going to give you, there are, I think, 8 or 9 examples of some technologies and platforms and tools that I have found pretty useful. This is not an exhaustive list, and this is my personal recommendation because I have used them. There are a lot of technologies out there which you would have used, which we can always create a community within ourselves where we can share this knowledge. So I am here today going to talk about some of the tools and platforms that I found very, very useful. So this is the time now when, if you don't have a notepad or a copy or a pen, then you should have that with you, because you can make a quick note. And as somebody asked, I will share this presentation with all the participants. So you can also use this for your future reference. Okay, so now we all adapted. Most of us adapted to digital very, very fast. The change was very rapid, and COVID actually catalyzed the whole process. So let us come to, first is content. So you can do 3 things with content. You can create new content, you can collaborate with others, or you can focus on already created content, or you can also contribute and contribute new content somewhere, right? So these are some of the things that you can do. You can get your students to contribute new content. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 5, how important do you think it is to create new content versus use available content? Can you all write it in the chat? 1 being low and 5 being very high. Okay. 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, 5. Okay. Okay. So I see a lot of 5s, 4s. There are 3s as well. So most of the audience here thinks that it is important for us to create new content. Okay. All right. Excellent. So if we are done with the first, if that question, if we are done with that question, so there is no right wrong answer here. It is all very, very context specific. We can always create new content, and we can also annotate around existing content. When I say annotate around existing content, means there is already something made, and we can add our extra value or extra sauce to it, and we can customize it according to our needs. So I will show you some platforms. Yes, you can modify it, as Sonia is mentioning. You can modify it based on your needs as well. Absolutely. So there is no right wrong answer here. It is based on your particular need, your particular context. Okay, this is me just trying to understand how you all are thinking. Now, this is the second question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how important do you think is the format of the content of presentation? On a scale of 1 to 5, how important do you think is the format of the presentation of the content? I think everyone here agrees that it is very, very, very important, because how you present your content is something that that is very, very important. Yes, Sandhyashri, fusion is always useful. We can always modify our topic. So again, you see it is important for us to realize that in some cases we have to completely start from scratch, and in some cases, if we have people, if we have collaborators, and there are platforms which are allowing us to use already made content and modify it or alter it based on our needs, that is also very, very useful. Okay, at NDLI, that is something that we would want. I mean, I will come to that towards the end. Like, yes, like catchy advertisement. We do. I think content format and how you present is extremely important, and that is. Oh yes, Divya, I'm going to come to Quizlet. Quizlet is there. So I think very quickly, you all are conducting in terms of content creation, you all are conducting classes, and you all may be also doing doubt clearing sessions. So you might be doing it through any of these Zoom, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or any other street, these live platforms. You might also be looking at something called creating some audio books or audio notes, where you can simply, I know of a school which has got its students to create chapter summaries on audio, okay, in English and all of that. So that is something, again, which is very useful. You can use presentations, and I have given 3 names here. Now you can start making a note of this. I think a lot of you make presentations on PowerPoint. You can also use these 2 tools, which I will quickly show you, called Canva and Prezi. I use them, and they are really, really useful. Yes, Farah, podcasts are again very, very important in the audio part as well. And finally, some of you are also making content in text. So you can make that in the form of flashcards, short note summaries, like that. Okay. Now, in terms of other content, you also have quizzes and assignments. And I feel this is very, very useful. In terms of quizzes and assignments, you can make general MCQs, or you can make fill in the blanks type of questions, or you can have comprehension based questions, or match the following. And there is a whole list of this. Okay, there are different ways of creating quizzes. And so now let me share with you some quick examples of things that I like. If some of you are interested in designing your whole course, if you are designing your whole course online, then I think this is one of the platforms I have used, called Moodle. Okay, so Moodle allows you to, yes, crossword. I know reverse quizzing is also very good, very good. So we have a lot of ideas here, and of course 1 hour is not sufficient. So I'm just giving you so Moodle is a platform which you can use to start your own learning management system. It gives you everything, and the basic part of this is free. So it's a free platform, it's an open source platform, and you can I know of a lot of schools which have made Moodle on their own, which have used Moodle for their entire management of content and everything. Okay. Yes. So there are various examples. I'm not going into that. I'm just going to share some examples. So this is Moodle. It is one of the world's largest customizable and trusted online learning solution. I know Anumeha quizzes. Then you've got Rita talking about Prezi, Manoj talking about Kahoot. So these are all there. So this is what Prezi is. Okay. Prezi is again something that you can use for in your classes. Prezi is really good. It is good for all formats of presentation, and it is very simple to use. Again, one of the good things about most of these platforms is that is that they are very, very simple to use. Yes, Farah, I will come to that. I will come to that. So Anita is saying Prezi is amazing. I also love Prezi. And if Prezi is really good, then I would highly recommend that a lot of you who are making presentations and interesting presentations for your classroom, you can try this platform called Canva. Very simple and very good. Okay. So yes, I mean we will make a note of all these things. And yeah, you can use Prezi for various things. It can be used for marketing as well, but Prezi presentations, and you can really use this. So Prezi is the third thing. So I've talked about Moodle, I've talked about Prezi, and third is Canva. Okay. Yes, it is very good for students also. So whatever I am telling you here, students can also use them. Students can use them in their poster making. In when you give them assignments, you can give them assignments on Canva and tell them that, summarize the whole chapter or make an infographic of this concept. All these can be done in all these platforms. Okay. Next, a lot of you were mentioning about quizzes. And Kahoot. Okay, so this is Kahoot. I would highly recommend that all the teachers as well as students and principals and librarians, you go and look at Kahoot. Okay, it is very, very attractive. It is very, very engaging, and very nice quizzes and everything, and games. You can actually make games. So when we talk about gamification in education, this is a very good platform that you can use. So I've just given some examples of how Kahoot works. You should go and try. I mean, I'm just giving you a list of things for you to. Yes, Edmodo is also very good. Edmodo is also very good. The next one, which I really like, is called Quizlet. Okay, Quizlet is something again which is very, very good. Yes, Menti is also good, Subhash. Edmodo, Menti, yeah, there is a whole list. I am talking about the things that I use. So Quizlet again, it gives you the chance. It is free for teachers, and Quizlet allows you to make all types of content, including quizzes, crosswords, flashcards, presentations, everything. Quizlet, it's Quiz, Rita, it's Quiz. So you can really, really captivate and engage your students. It also shows their progress. And the best part is that you can actually use a lot of these with your Zoom and Google Classrooms. All you have to do is create a link and share it with the students. And while they are using it in the classroom, you can see their progress also. You can track their progress. So this is an example of you making flashcards. So I'll tell you about Quizlet is that it allows a lot of teachers and students. So you see over 300 million flashcards made. That means you don't have to create everything from scratch. There are a lot of things which are already made. You can simply use them and customize them based on your needs. Okay. Kahoot is absolutely game based. And Quizlet allows you to not just make game-based quizzes, but also gives you a chance to make a lot of other types of content. So if you just want to include gamification, then Kahoot is better. But if you want to include more types of content, then Quizlet is also. I mean, you can use a lot of them. Then as somebody mentioned, quizzes. Again, this is very, very good. It's a highly engaging platform, and it has been getting a lot of attention from students and teachers globally. So you can try quizzes. It has got various types of so all subjects are there. Very simple to use. I'm coming. So this is what quizzes looks like. This is how the quizzes are there in quizzes, and you have a lot of all subjects and everything. You should have a look at this. Yes, you can also prepare lessons. As you can see here, you can also prepare slides from here. As you can see that. Something that I really would like. How many of you use TED-Ed? How many of you use TED-Ed? The videos that are there in TED-Ed, they are extremely good. And and you can also annotate around the content in TED. Okay, so if you go to TED, then all the content in TED you can actually use questions around the videos. You can add more in-depth topics to be read. You can have discussion around these. Yes, Farah, it is free. So I think these are just some list of things I would like you all to make a note of. Go check them out for yourself. They are very simple to understand. Okay, Suparna is talking about Ed Puzzle. I will look at it. Then this is a personal recommendation for those of you who want students to read more. I have gotten hooked onto this app called Blinkist. It is like Audible from Amazon, but I like Blinkist. I like Blinkist more. Blinkist is paid, but some part of it is free. Some part of it is free. So you can try this. This has got, what Blinkist has got are something called shortcasts or podcasts. They have got blinks. Blinks are basically 15-minute summaries of non-fiction books, and you also have a lot of audiobooks and all of those things. So you can try this. It's a German company, and they have a lot of categories. So I mean, some part of it, this is for students also. A lot of students. Yes, there is booklet also. Absolutely. So what I would suggest is that you all can try a lot of these things out. What something you might enjoy, some things you may not. The ones you enjoy, you can incorporate them into your daily life, into your framework. And from an Indian, one of my favorite Indian, because so far we have been talking about digital. I thought one example I should give from hands-on learning, because we also need to give our students assignments, and we need to do things in the classroom which will also get them to do some projects, do some experiments. And this is a website called Toys from Trash by Arvind Gupta. Have you heard of him? Have you heard about Arvind Gupta? Please check out. This is one of the best Indian contributions, to the field of hands-on learning and science activities. The best part is, I'll tell you the best part. The activities are very interesting. The activities are very simple, and the students can simply do them with anything that is around in their house. So, for example, a hovercraft, they can do a hovercraft experiment in their home using a wasted CD, a plastic pen, a film roll box, a balloon, like this. So the students don't have to buy expensive materials to do good experiments. And yeah, these are very nice. So I know some of you are already using it. And I think we must have a good hybrid blended model of learning, where you are not just focusing on digital technologies, but you also have some good activities and experiments for the students to do. Okay. So now let me come to the last part of those were some of the examples that I thought I would share with you in terms of resources, in terms of some good places from where you can take help to make your classroom and your whole process of engagement with learners using technology better. And I think what we are trying to do to also at NDLI's end, what we are trying to do is that we have a huge repository of 7 crore plus, learning materials on our platform. Okay. And we want you all to go there and create, events around these contents. And also, when we conduct these events, we will be also having a lot of competitions, and we have built a platform on which there will be reward points. And we also want you to start a discussion around these with your students. So there are books, there are ebooks, there are all formats of content, videos, everything is there. It's a very, very large repository, and you can use them to conduct these things. And I will be doing one more session with you later on, where we will invite all the schools and we will talk about how you can make the best out of NDLI's content and make your process of teaching and learning more engaging. Okay, so we want you all to follow the 5 C's of NDLI clubs and NDLI. We want you all to contribute the content that you have already made to us. We will come back to you as to how you can contribute. We want you all to collaborate with us and add questions and annotate around the content that we already have, so that once a student can read something, they can also attempt the questions around it, because you all are subject matter experts. You are best placed to help us with that. We want you all to conduct some events and competitions. This will always increase engagement. And obviously we want you to create new content and give, and on this platform where we have lakhs of users coming to our platform, what you create, it will be on a national level platform, and it will become accessible to so many learners across the country. So I think that would be a big, reward and recognition for you to create something which will help so many students in their learning journey. And I think I would like to close by saying that this is a big opportunity. This, us being able to use our knowledge and use technology to enable us to do things in a even better way. This is a big opportunity to make education more democratic, to make education more equitable and accessible to everyone. So I think that is where I would like to end. And how will you connect with NDLI? I think we will Vignesh, do we have something on that? How will they connect with NDLI?
Yes, so we have this club-support through which we can get in touch with them. So we have a ticketing process, and we can track the responses also. So we will, I will put it in the chat box. So you can get in touch with us. And apart from that, they can also get in touch with you if they want you to help. So you can share your email ID also if you mind.
Thank you. So I hope this was a informative webinar for all the participants. And yeah, I mean, we would love to hear your feedback. So feedback link is going to be
Sure.
shared.
We will share. So thank you so much, Rajiv, for this amazing session. In fact, I learned a lot. So there are something which is completely new to me. Prezi, Canva, Kahoot, Edmodo, Quizlet, Quizzes, TEDed, Blinkist, Toys from Trash. And apart from this, we have learned a lot from the participants also, like Padlet, Annotate, WordWall, PeerDeck, Slido, Edubustle. So there are so many things that we are all collectively learning. That's the beauty of this process. So thank you so much, Rajiv, for this amazingly presented session. So we all enjoyed. I'm sure all the participants, we can see like there are more than 280 people joined here, and at least 1,200 people are watching from the YouTube channel. So that's we have reached around 1,500 people through this session. So we thank you for your time. So now I request Manu Gopal, who is the son of Balagopal ji, to propose the vote of thanks. So Manu.
Rajiv sir, it was a nice presentation by yourself. I was also learning many new things from you. Anyway, I thank you, sir, for this wonderful presentation. And moreover, I thank all the attendees for taking part in this webinar.
Thank you for your kind words, and it was a pleasure interacting with such a nice audience. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. So participants, I just have a couple of housekeeping announcements. I'm just going to share the registration URL for this session and the feedback URL for this session. Once you submit the feedback form, I think you can automatically collect your certificate at the bottom. So there is an option to download the certificate. You can just click there and then you can download. And as Balagopalji said, we have a session tomorrow, which is enabling reading and writing through digital platforms, achievements and some challenges. And this is going to be presented by Dr. Geeta Malhotra from the Read India initiative. And it's going to be tomorrow at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I'm just going to share it in the chat box. So I request you to join us tomorrow also. And I also request you to install the NDLI mobile app. So I'm just going to put the NDLI mobile app URL in the chat box. So kindly install the app. And if you find it useful, my humble request to each one of you is to share it with your friends and relatives. And also I'm going to just share the Skills for Work scholarship that is being offered by the KDS and the Commonwealth of Learning. So kindly spread it to your friends and relatives. So for our YouTube audience, I'm just going to put it in the comment box, the registration URL and the feedback URL in the next few minutes. So thank you so much. Thanks all the participants. With this, we are going to end this session. Thank you, Rajiv, once again for taking part. Thank you.
Thank you.
So participant, there is a question. So I can see a lot of people have started downloading the certificate of participation. So I don't see any uh, problem there. So there is a question like, where can they find the recording of this session? So you can download or view all the recordings of the webinars from our YouTube channel. I've just shared the YouTube channel URL here, PN Panikkar Foundation. You can just go to Google, YouTube and then search for PN Panikkar Foundation, right? So YouTube channel, there you can see all the so yesterday and day before yesterday certificate I did not get. How do I get it? So if you have submitted Anumeha Dubey, if you have submitted your feedback form, then you can download the certificate from this URL, right? I'm just going to share the feedback for the webinar section URL. So you just have to go to the webinar section URL, and from there you can download the certificate from this for all the webinars. But if you have not yet submitted your feedback form, then you won't be able to submit it because it's all system driven. So you have to submit it, submit the feedback form, and then you have to download it within 30 minutes. Yes, in case if you have submitted, just click on this webinars URL, and from there you can download the certificate. There is an option to download certificate option. There you just click there, and then enter your mobile number. Then you will be able to automatically download your certificate. Okay, so Dr. Meenakshi has already downloaded. Okay, fine. Thank you. So if there are not much questions, then we can end this session from here. Okay, I think there are more than 1,000 people trying to log in. So kindly wait for some time. I have kept it open till the tonight, 11 o'clock, 11:55. I have kept it open. So you can. There are more than 1,000 people trying to open. So take your time, be patient, and then you can submit your feedback form. But I can see a lot of people are downloading it now. So for what do you want? Yesterday's storytelling, please send me link. What is that? Please send which link you are looking for. You want the recording? As I said, you can go to YouTube channel, and from there you search for PN Panikkar Foundation, and then you can download. So the scholarship for everyone, so starting from the school going children to anyone who is interested in obtaining new courses, to gain the employment, that is free of cost. Okay, so I think there is heavy rush in the server, so kindly wait. You can, I've already shared the URL here. So Mr. Ramesh, I know there are some challenges that we are all facing. So our technical team is working 24/7 to streamline the portal. I'm sure soon it will be much simpler and easier to conduct events through the NDLA Club portal. So thank you so much. I'm going to, so Mamita Mishra, as I said, kindly wait for some time. There are a lot of people trying to log into the system. So there are more than 1,000 people trying to log in. So that's why there is a slow response or there is some error. So try it after an hour or so. It